तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् शांति 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 May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed unto me. May not my speech and mind forget what the scriptures have been telling. May the message of the divine come and stick with me. Let me live my life day and night according to the teachings of sages. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace. 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 Let us feel that each of us and whatever each of us is seeing are like snowflakes. The snowflakes, each flake is different from another. But yet, as they melt, their intrinsic oneness becomes manifest. Let us feel we are melting. All the distinctions born out of ignorance have vanished. There is no I, no world. All has become one without second reality, that it actually ever has been. Time and space have disappeared. No past, present or future divisions anymore. All is undefinable, yet definite, congealed oneness. I am that. All the delusional ideas of birth, growth, decay, death have vanished. All the fictitious distinctions of separation have vanished. I am that I am. There are no desires, so no sorrow. All is serene, bliss itself. No darkness of ignorance. All is light. That luminous, infinite existence I see is condensed in the blissful form of Sri Ramakrishna. Om. Peace, peace, So, dear friends, let us begin with our usual prayers. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi grinanti te Bhurida jana. Welcome, friends, for this sparsely attended class, obviously because of the harsh weather, and yet therefore those who have come from a distance are taking different modes of communication. They deserve congratulations, and we need a lot of determination to walk on this path of spiritual unfoldment. It is not for those who get cowed down by circumstances. If we really want something, we are ready to take some risk for it. Go for it with some adventurous spirit. Adventurous spirit is very important in spiritual life. What is adventurous spirit? You know that it is exploring an unknown territory where we are not sure what is going to happen. We are somehow sure in ignorance about I being a body and these being my close relatives, this being my house, my property, my belongings, my bank balance, and so forth. So, being assured about that, we do not find anybody getting anxious in these familiar situations. We do not find normally anxious that, well, I have to drive from all the way Warwick to Providence. In normal circumstances, that's fine. But when the weather becomes difficult, then you feel a little bit, what will happen? Should I do? Should I not do? Well, I see people are moving about, so it is possible. But no, one voice tells, no, you should not take chances. The other voice says, no, this is an opportunity to test your courage, to explore, to see, and thereby gain the inner strength of resolve. It is just the unfamiliarity of circumstances that makes us getting scared, anxious, uncertain, and so forth. Like when I venture in a forest area, then there is always the fear. A bear may show up suddenly. Oh, that what is it that I did? I saw just passing there. must be, I think, a bear or a tiger or some such creature. And oh, this something went on the ground, must be a poisonous snake. And all these fears rake up. And I admire all those people who live right in that situation. Uh, a gentleman had come here a few days back from Alaska, and then he was telling how the bears move around, their house was broken in by a bear. So I wouldn't like as such to go and stay in such a place. I will be scared. But when you follow that understand that so many people are living there, why should I be scared? No, I will die. Maybe a bear attacks me. But in this city, am I not scared that somebody may pull out a gun and shoot me? The chances, the statistics is that you are more likely to be shot by a gun in the city rather than being attacked by a bear. So, but because it is unfamiliar a situation, a person staying, I was talking to one gentleman from Iowa. He spent almost all his years in Iowa and had come to Brown University. So was telling that how we there, it is so easy to move about and driving is no problem. Here I am always scared in so many cars moving like this on curvy roads. We don't see what is the next turning point, what is coming out of there. And are you not scared? Well, because people here who are familiar, they do it every day, they are not scared at all. The different circumstances, you see. It is, I was wondering when I went in Canada and that's very cold northern regions there, Calgary and so forth, and saw that the streets were not plowed. What is this? Why are they not? No, we don't plow these streets at all here. We don't put even salt on the streets. Will the cars not skid? No, that's all right, we are used to that. So when you get used to it, you don't feel scared. When you are not used to it, you feel the scare. So religion and spirituality is actually an exploration in an unexplored territory, unfamiliar territory, beyond the reaches of our mind and intellect. Our mind and intellect, that territory, although we don't know, because of the familiarity we consider we know. But to explore beyond that needs a real spirit of adventure. That yes, I have to see what happens if I transcend the limits of this mind and senses. Can I do that? Can that be done? Well, for a long time, for thousands of years, it was assumed that the one can never break the barrier of Earth's gravity. We can jump, we can maybe throw the articles in the outer space, maybe we can someday fly like birds, but still we will be within the sphere of Earth, a gravitational sphere of Earth. We can't escape that. But then the adventurous spirit in human beings never stop trying. And yes, one day they achieved this, that breaking the barrier of gravity. It was calculated how much propulsion you have to give to the object. It was unthinkable at one time. How can you power a vehicle with that kind of velocity? It has to be propelled to go by some 7 miles per second. It is 7 miles per second. No car has that kind of, what is it called? Uh, uh? No, there is that word for it. What is it, Jitendra? Huh? Torque, okay, yeah. There is another very common word for that, not so scientific. Uh, huh? Huh? No, there is the word for that. That it is pickup, yeah. No car has that pickup to increase the speed to that even if you press your gas pedal down to the ground, down to the metal there, still it won't go at anywhere close to that speed. Acceleration, yeah, exactly. That is, it cannot be accelerated at that speed. So, therefore, it was not possible to go beyond. And but one day, because of this spirit of adventure, because of the spirit of inquiry, because we want to go beyond, we want to be free of all bondages, including the bondage of this gravity that keeps us down. Similarly, we have to have the spirit of adventure. And so, those who have shown this spirit of adventure in coming here, they deserve really congratulations. Yes, we can do it. It requires tremendous adventurous spirit to break the barrier of gravity of the pulls of the senses. All the objects kind of pull us towards them. All of the attraction, that is much more gravity than even this physical spirit of gravity of earth or even sun maybe. The gravity with which the objects attract our mind, very difficult to break that barrier. It is, and yet we want to become free from that. It is, and therefore we try. And one day we do achieve success when we see how these great sages have done that they break the barrier of this attraction. And that is what is Sri Ramakrishna, the life. Human being like us and yet not like us. He is beyond the barrier. He has that tremendous engine that he can be with us, like us, and yet can just go anywhere beyond the reach of the senses and intellect. So this is what we were seeing like Bhaava Mukha in this chapter, which is almost at the conclusion, that how Sri Ramakrishna would live on so many different planes and thus see the existence on those different planes, that is called bhava. And at some times, very frequently, he would not perceive any duality. It is difficult to describe, not just difficult, well, nay, impossible to describe that in words, that there won't be any perception of name or form or duality, and he would be merged in that state alone. No awareness of any physical thing around here, no awareness of people around, sitting around there, no knowledge of the place that he is in. Samadhi, the state of utmost concentration and merging in the reality. Great. And then on various planes, he would see things differently. That is called Darshana. Darshana means as our plane of existence changes, we get different perceptions. Just like sometimes we had discussed that example. Suppose you just imagine you are not, but suppose you are a microbe here. Now the vision, the perception, the awareness of that microscope about this space will be completely different. It will be seeing things very differently. Imagine, we can imagine how with whatever special tiny sense of, eyes or sound or what, I don't know, many microbes, they have very different senses. They may have a magnetic sense, an electric sense, and so how different that world that they are living will be. It will be a very different perception that is not available to us. But for Sri Ramakrishna, since he was not tied down to a particular body, he could get the access. He could get to access, let us put it like that, the perception that any creature could have. So that is the Darshana, that freedom to see things from any plane and without getting caught in them. So, he could therefore see what spiritual plane a person is on and thus guide them accordingly, removing the obstacles on their spiritual path. If you don't see them, how are you going to remove them? If you are not aware of the obstacles, you cannot remove them. It is when Sri Ramakrishna sees a person's mind, where that person is stuck is instantaneously known to him, and then remove that obstacle, and that person's path becomes very clear. So there are some who would like to think of God as beyond all forms. Some people would find it more beneficial to think of God as with form. There is logic to both, friends. It is not that many think that God with form is illogical. Not really. You can provide logic to that as well. And those who are they thinking of God with form, they would say the same thing, that God without form is just illogical. Well, because both have their logical arguments. And logic actually has only the negative function. It can't prove much. So, because everything can be proved by logic and can be disproved also. It is it is a tool that you can use to do many things. So you can like use say a screwdriver to put in this screw or to take it out. You can use it in many different places. So similarly, logic is a tool for to prove as well as to disprove. So Sri Ramakrishna, having realized, having experienced intimately all these things, he would say, well, God is with form and God is without form. Where is the conflict in that? You go by your path, but don't say that the others are wrong. If you feel more comfortable with God with form, follow it. No problem. But don't think that therefore God cannot be without form. And if you like to have, God without form, okay, try that path. But don't think that those who are following the path of God with form, they are mistaken. No, they are also right. Not that they are illogical or they have any, they are weak or any such thing. They are lower. It is, there is a tendency that people who have read a few books and think that they are intellectuals, they are not just those ordinary devotees who just go and worship and follow some rituals. They are intellectuals. And so, I, being an intellectual, I see that God has to be infinite, beyond all form. Okay, follow that. It is, but don't think that that is the only way to look at it. You have a particular way to look at it, but that is not the only way. So Sri Ramakrishna, we saw at that in the last class that he tells that it is possible, since we do not know, we feel confused. How are you, God? So just pray to God, howsoever you are. I really don't know how you are, but as you are, please accept my prayers as you are. I don't know. It is who and how and where you are, wherever you are, however you are. I pay my obeisance to you. I salute you. Please bless me. So, this is a way of praying that could be, for a even for a skeptic like Narendranath. He said to Sri Ramakrishna, how to pray to God. It is not certain whether God is or God is not. I do not know for sure whether God is or God is not. Then how can I pray? Logically, quite a formidable question. But Sri Ramakrishna was more than equal to that. He said, well, you can pray like this, O Lord, if you exist, then accept my prayers. It is nothing illogical about it. If you exist, then so forth. Then whatever you want to pray, you pray if you exist. What is harm in praying in that way? Nothing. So, logically speaking, that position cannot be countered. It is all right. Now, last class we concluded when we were telling about the so-called relative aspect of Sri Ramakrishna's life while living on a normal plane, which is very, very important to note. And this chapter actually concludes on that, that when one starts spiritual practices and achieves some understanding and experience of these names and forms around not being real, the mind has risen above them, then that person is not able to conduct all the regular activities in a proper way. And even Sri Ramakrishna, when he would be in that bhava, he would not be like a normal person doing various actions in a normal way. But when he is on the normal plane, then he would be paying attention to every little detail, observing everything, because now he is connected and connected fully to this apparatus of body and mind. Now this has been put on, so to say, and then he would be seeing these things perfectly. His life was therefore a great lesson. Also, a lesson, I mean, on the relative plane, that how one should live here. And that is a great beauty. And many times this aspect of Sri Ramakrishna's life is not very much highlighted. He is shown, for example, in many movies that are made on Sri Ramakrishna. Most of the time Sri Ramakrishna is depicted to be not aware of this world and walking with unsteady steps and all that. No, friends. The accounts of the life of Sri Ramakrishna by those who actually have lived with him uh, tell a very different story, that when he was on normal plane, his walk was in fact much better than the walking of an ordinary person, fully fit person. He would do works, the various things, with tremendous meticulous sense of that appropriate, in the most appropriate way. It is amazing to see this part. And why it is important is because we tend to show that because I am doing spiritual practice, my mind is not on this plane. I behave absent mindedly. And then take it as a sign of spiritual growth or enlightenment. It is, oh, my mind now dwells in the higher plane of spiritual wisdom. That is why I make mistakes in keeping my accounts, cash and balances and all that. No, it is not right thing at all. It is, if you are not doing accounts, it is fine. But if you are doing, do it well. It is, you cannot be just saying that my mind dwells on a higher plane. It is easy to become absent minded. It is Many of us are like that, and then since we want to be spiritual, and those who are spiritual are at times absent minded. So, because I am absent minded, I should be spiritual. It gives a false consolation. Do you see this, Charlie? Yeah, it gives a false sense that I am becoming spiritual because I am absent minded. It is, I am terribly absent minded, and therefore I used to think at times that before reading the biography of Sri Ramakrishna, that I must be a very spiritual or must be of a recluse type because I don't pay attention to the details around. No, that is the weakness of our apparatus of perception, that's all. That is not properly toned. It is to be properly harnessed and used. It is that is not at all a sign of spirituality. One must understand this. Here are these things told on page 440, that it is actually a continuation from the last para of 439. One morning, a master took a carriage to Balram's house with Ramlal and Yogin, later Swami Yogananda. When the carriage reached the gate of Dakshineshwar, the master asked Yogin, "Did you bring my cloth and bath towel?" He replied, "I have your towel, but I forgot to bring the cloth." "Anyhow, Balram will be happy to give you a new piece of cloth." The master said indignantly, "Nonsense! People will say, what a hapless fellow has come. It will cause them trouble and they will be embarrassed. Stop the carriage, go back and get the cloth." When Yogin obeyed, the master commented, "There is an abundance of everything when a good and fortunate person comes as a guest. But when a wretched and unfortunate fellow comes, the host finds great difficulty in accommodating that person, particularly if he arrives on a day when there just happens to be a lack of necessities in the household." It is Sri Ramakrishna was very particular that wherever he would tell also that you should not cause problem if you are going to somebody's place. See that you do not become a cause of a problem for them. It is at least you try your best not to be that. It is being just casual about it. They will manage it. Oh, somebody else will do it. This casual approach about things was very much abhorred by Sri Ramakrishna. Pratap Hazra, a self-styled holy man, lived with the master at Dakshineshwar for a long time. We used to call him Hazra Mahashaya. Sometimes he accompanied the master when the latter visited devotees in Calcutta. Once, while returning from Calcutta, Hazra forgot his towel. When the master learned about it after they had arrived at Dakshineshwar, he said to Hazra, "While chanting God's name, I lose control of my body. But I have never left my towel and spice bag in Calcutta even for a day. And you are so forgetful after practicing a little japa." It is becoming forgetful. It doesn't take anything. We are very forgetful people. I used to be very forgetful. I still am, unfortunately. But very put the thing somewhere and become, engaged in something, forgetting what you have been doing. One forgets. But that is not a spiritual quality as such. That is no sign of spiritual advancement. It is not being careful. It is once I went to some place, that was long back when I was in high school, and then they started laughing. Hey, you have put uh, your shirt inside out. It is. Oh, is it so? Okay. Then they when then they told my dad about it. See, he put the shirt like. Oh, that's all right. He's. I do not care too much about those things. About this son, my son. He is terrible. I am just happy that he did not put the shirt where pant is to be put and pant where shirt is to be put. Up to that, it is okay. So, being absent minded, being forgetful, that is not something to be glorifying ourselves about it. It is not necessarily a sign of any spiritual upliftment. One has to assiduously try to correct that. Sri Ramakrishna was very particular at whatever time given, do those things at that time. Oh, I forgot because I was meditating. Were you in such deep meditation, or you just are forgetful? The two things are different. Don't confuse them. That it is being forgetful comes easy. It is being spiritual and meditative is not that simple. One meditates and then thinking of God, mind goes here, there, and forgets. Not that the mind is sticking to God and therefore it has forgotten other things. That would be a blessed day. So, it is therefore one has to see these things. Sri Ramakrishna says, although he the master taught the Holy Mother, when you travel by carriage or boat, get into it first, and while leaving it, get out last, after checking thoroughly to see whether any luggage has been left behind. The master had such keen observation regarding even small matters. It is, he taught Holy Mother all these minute things. Holy Mother later used to reminisce that he taught me how to thread a needle, how to put the thread in the eye of the needle. And he would therefore give that analogy that if even one or two shoots of that thread are sticking out, then the thread won't go in the needle. So also our mind, if it has so many desires, even one desire other than that of God, then it will not be able to meditate. So this is, see how pointed and attentive that mind has to be. So, and that attentiveness, when you are dealing with particular names, forms, when you are at a given plane, that attentiveness gets transferred on that plane fully. It is like if you have a flashlight, then wherever you turn that flashlight, that object gets illumined. So, Sri Ramakrishna's mind was like that, a very powerful flashlight. So, everything would become clear at whatever plane it is. He would therefore exactly imitate, impersonate people around, and everybody would get such laughter. How? Because of that keen power of observation, tremendously keen power of observation on this normal plane, and learning from that observation. This is a technology. Today at Brown University there was a very nice discussion on technologies of religious readings. So, it is a technology that to when you read something, from that reading, it is on the surface, you see. It is like mining. That on the surface you see something, but then you have to dig deeper, separate all the other things in the crust, and then take out exactly that whatever gold or the other things that you are looking for. Purify that, refine everything, then you get it. So this is when we read, it is like the surface. Now one has to dwell deeper. That is, that technology has to be acquired. That reading technology, by reading, get to the truth. How to make this transition? The reading, and from reading, get to the truth. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the scriptures are a mixture of sand and sugar. You have to become an ant. By becoming an ant, what will you take, Jitendra? Sand or sugar? Sugar, exactly, yeah. It is, you have to take those truths and imbibe those. So this is the how Sri Ramakrishna's message is presented here. It is, although he constantly dwelt in the state of Bhaava, the master was careful about his necessities. He always kept things in their proper places. All those who observed Sri Ramakrishna, lived with him, they were amazed to see that how his living room looked, all so well organized. And he would become very displeased with anybody if the person takes a thing and puts it in not in a proper place, not exactly back in the same place. So you may wonder, what is a spiritual person who is beyond time and space? What does it matter if a thing is kept here or a thing is kept there? I started arguing with one of my mentor teachers that what is the point? God alone is everywhere, all things are divine, and there is no time, no space. So whether I keep a thing like this or I keep a thing like that, it is. So he was a little, his methods of teachings were different. And nowadays they won't teach like that. He said, he in a scolding tone he said, okay, this stick, he had a stick, this stick is here, and if it lands on your back, same, isn't it? That whether it is here or there, it is same thing. time and space are nothing. So instead of that stick being here, let me land it on your back. So it is very important that the relatively, you have to see, never confuse the relative and the absolute. So Sri Ramakrishna was a great teacher in that respect by example. He didn't always talk about it, but living with him and seeing how he would keep his room, it is a great lesson that everything would be in its proper place. It is therefore it is said that how one should be a preacher. How should that preacher be? Preach all the time. Use words only if necessary. Preach all the time. That our life is preaching. There is a beautiful passage in Taittiriya Upanishad that consciously or unconsciously each of us is teaching or preaching. So be aware of that our actions are teachers, our words are teachers, but actions speak louder than the words. So when one reflects on the life and teachings of the Master, one understands that he was the embodiment of all spiritual moods. Such a great king in the realm of spirituality had never been seen before. Dwelling in the state of Bhaava, the Master fully demonstrated life, the immense range in his life, the immense range of spiritual states, from the non-dual Nirvikalpa to the spiritual moods of Savikalpa. That is, Nirvikalpa, where there is no trace of name and form and such thing. It is beyond all time, space, no particular form of divine there. That is Nirvikalpa. Savikalpa is the same divine experience, but with specifications. So it is called Savikalpa Samadhi. There are the specifics seen in that, so though it is also Samadhi. Then he guided different types of devotees along different paths according to their goals and brought them to the light of knowledge from the darkness of ignorance, to unprecedented hope from despair, and to incomparable peace amidst worldly tribulations. Words are not adequate to explain how the Master was the repository of hope for all. For all. It is impossible for us to express the indomitable power that he had in the entire realm of mind. Swami Vivekananda said, "It is no great matter to control external material powers by some means and to perform miracles. But I have never seen a greater miracle than the way that mad Brahmin would handle human minds like a lump of clay. He would pound those minds, beat them into shape, develop them, and then with a mere touch he would cast them into a new mold with new thoughts." That is Sri Ramakrishna. And when we come more closely in touch with Sri Ramakrishna, as we hand over consciously this mold of clay for Sri Ramakrishna to mold, we can see that easily how the current of our minds get altered towards illumination. So here this chapter ends, and we shall be now moving to the chapter of Sri Ramakrishna as a Guru from next Tuesday onwards, as ordained by Sri Ramakrishna. We will meditate for half a minute, and then if there are any questions, we shall try to discuss. Yes, please. Very good. So there are no questions. So let us uh, conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.